everybody, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Today I wanted to give you a few updates on how some things are actually doing. Got the crepe myrtles, the boxwood cuttings that I did earlier in the year, the rosemary cuttings, all that kind of stuff. I want to put it all here into one video so you can kind of get an idea of what the effect was and how well they did, and if those techniques actually worked. I know here on YouTube it is one of those things where you want to see the results. You want to know that from the beginning to the end that the process is going to work. And sometimes as a plant propagator, it's difficult to show you things at the proper time so that you get the results later. You know, doing one video all the way through from the beginning to the end can be kind of tricky, because I want to show you when to take things, because there's good times and bad times to take cuttings of different types. And so I want to show you the beginning of it at the beginning when you're supposed to actually take it, but I can't always show you the results. So anyway, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to show you some of the results from some of these cuttings that I've done past videos on, and I'll put links in the description for those videos so you can go back and check those out in case you missed them the first time around. Anyway, stay tuned and check them out. So here are my pepper cuttings that I took a couple weeks ago, and you can see they're all still alive and well, no problems whatsoever. I don't have any roots coming out of the bottom just yet, but I'm going to bring these indoors and continue to root. I'm not sure I want to put them or take them out just yet. I don't want to ruffle the root systems any, and these are just going to go in the garage where they can kind of be in a protected environment on a tray under some lights. And I'll probably give them another week to 2 weeks before bringing them indoors to maybe have some peppers grown over the winter. We've got jalapenos and an orange bell. Something else I wanted to share with you were these cuttings. I did these a while ago and I've just kind of left them here. I've barely paid attention to them. I've checked on them every now and then just to see how they're doing. I've lost very few, maybe one or two. Here's one there. But there's a lot of basil cuttings here. And I'm checking the bottom and look at all those roots that are coming out. So in a few days I need to go through these and transplant them out separately, and that way I can see what I've actually got as far as these basil or boxwood cuttings. And I did another round of the Yoshino Cherry laurels, and you can see they've got some roots coming out of the bottom of them, so that's good. See, that one's got some too, and that's a good thing to look for when they're just starting to come out of the bottom, and that's pretty good. Then I know it's time to go on and get those transplanted. And you can see some of the hydrangea cuttings that we've got rooted, oak leaf hydrangeas that we've rooted. They're all doing pretty well. Now over here, these are something I wanted to check on, but these are rosemary cuttings that we did, and I don't see a whole lot of roots coming out of the bottom. The ones in the water actually do have roots, but not real extensive. So let's pull one of these out and just look at it. See, this is one that we did not use rooting hormone on. Let me gently pull these out, but they do have roots. Check that out. No rooting hormone, pretty much just stuck in a pot. Kept wet and moist, and they've got some pretty good root systems going on it. So let me leave that out and hop over here and grab the other pot. Let's see, there's the label, the one with rooting hormone. Now let's just see, is there any significant difference between these or not? Or will we actually be able to tell? I guess is the other question. Okay, to me, I'm not seeing a whole lot of difference. The one on the right is the one that had rooting hormone, and they look like they've got some good roots, but also too, the ones on the left. There are just some plants that do well no matter what. And the standard logic with rooting hormone is that it speeds things up a little bit, but you know, you don't always need to have it. And one other thing to update you on, these are some additional crepe myrtle cuttings that I took. And if you recall, I did a post on crepe myrtle cuttings not too long ago. I guess it's been a couple months now, but they will root well from a semi-ripe cutting. And this is just a few that I stuck into a pot. You know, it's basically just some wood chips in there. I did use rooting hormone on them, and you can see that it's got some roots coming out the bottom. So I'm going to gently try to pull these out so you can see what kind of the roots they get. They're a very easy plant to propagate. You just want to be very careful that I don't damage the root systems in any way. So let's take a look. Sorry for the camera work because it is tricky. Now check out those roots. Alright, now these are ready to be potted up individually. Look at that one. Tons of rooting happening on that little cutting right there. That's about a 6-inch cutting, and it kind of looks like hardwood right now. So I'm going to set that aside gently, and then I'm going to see what else we got here. Just gently nudging them out. And there's another one. And another right there. That's 3. This one doesn't have as many, but it's still got some pretty good roots on it. There's 4. And we have one that didn't do anything on it. So we'll get rid of that one. But look at that. 4 out of 5 rooted from that kind of cutting. That's a pretty good percentage. So, and that I just put them under a tree and kept them outdoors. Check out the callousing that happened right there on that cutting. Callousing is where the wound from the cut end of the plant tries to heal, and it's from the calluses where the roots start to form. So you can see how that works right there really well. But a lot of people commented on that video and have said that their leaves were falling off or things like that, and that's not necessarily something to worry about. See here, it's yellowing, but that's the time of the year. But I can tell you that this cutting lost its leaves a long time ago, but it's still rooted. So don't give up on something until it actually starts to develop rot or is absolutely taking too long, like a really long period of time, whatever that might be. Alright, so there's those 4 crepe myrtle cuttings, all potted up into separate individual pots. And hopefully they'll make it through the winter. I've got them under the shelter of a Japanese maple, which of course is deciduous, but it's going to offer a little extra protection because it's right next to a patio too, and the heat zone over here is probably a little bit better than it would be out in the yard. There's a couple grapevines that I grew from cuttings next to them. Here's a catalpa tree that I grew from seed, and I hope to plant that outside eventually. Right there is a pawpaw tree that I grew from seed, and another one there all decorated by the birds for us. That's unfortunate. So I've actually got 3 of those that I'll need to plant out eventually. And then there is the 9 bark from the Diabolo, also called Monlo. So that'll need to be plotted up probably in the springtime after a good flush of growth happens. I've got a couple more things happening here. This is Fothergilla that I'm attempting to root. I've not gotten a success out of it yet, but I'm hopeful. There's a couple of those in here. Another 9 bark. This 9 bark didn't make it, you can see, so I'll just get rid of it. Then over here are a couple of hydrangea cuttings. I'm checking the bottom. I don't see any roots coming out from the bottom here. So we need to just give them some time. As long as they don't look like they're dying, we'll give them more time. So here I've got actually one of those Fothergilla cuttings, and I went ahead and I pulled it out. So you can see there's a little bit of root there. I'm trying to get that focused a little better. But the Fothergilla cutting looks like it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes. It looks more hardwood now because it's kind of continued to develop since I took it, but I think it was semi-ripe when I actually took it. So I just watered this one, and I'm going to see if I can just gently pull that one out too. And look at that. We've got some roots on it too. Now that one took about 2 months to root, so about 8 weeks on it, but you can see that it's got some pretty good root development. It's also got a nice little bud appearing there. And Fothergilla is just a really pretty plant in the spring, which has these little, they're almost like, I don't know, cotton balls or something, as far as the flowers go. But they're a pretty plant to have, a good shrub in the garden, and native to the United States. So here is a Yoshino cherry tree cutting. Yoshinos are an ornamental cherry tree that is very beautiful throughout the springtime. It tends to drop its foliage really early in the late summer, and it really isn't much for fall color because there aren't any leaves on the tree usually when I see it. But they can be propagated by doing this. Okay, this is a cutting that has no leaves on it, basically a hardwood cutting of first year growth. And if you look down here, you see all these different buds that are about to come out. So I'm going to cut those buds away, and those buds are going to be where they're going to be under the surface of the rooting medium, and those buds will eventually form roots. So let me show you what it looks like next. So on this, if you'll note here, I'm just going to take this and scrape these little buds away, just like that, and I'm going to go up a couple of inches off the bottom, just like that. Now at the very bottom here, you see this node. I'm going to trim it just a little more, have kind of an angle cut there at the bottom, and I'm going to wound on the back side just like this. And that's going to help to create more area for it to callus and start to root from those calluses. So I took about 3 of these cuttings from the Yoshino cherry tree in our front yard, and this rooting medium is basically on the bottom. You can't see it, but it's sand on the bottom, and you can see some of the sand that I've got up here. It's just a regular builder's sand, or you could use play sand or something like that. Paver sand will work too. That's in the bottom, and that kind of holds it and holds the moisture in a little bit. Now up here on top of it, I've got the wood chips, which help to also retain some moisture into the bottom area. It's in a flat that has drainage in the bottom, and I can just leave it underneath some trees this winter, and pretty much I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to leave it alone, and then toward the springtime, I'm going to come back and check that and see exactly what happens. So I hope you enjoyed checking those things out and seeing how things rooted. If you have something that you would like me to try propagating, put it down in the comments. I can't guarantee that I'll get to it. There are certain plants that you may have in your area that are not going to work in my area at all, but there might be some similarities to it, or something that would work as well as what you would suggest. So pop that into the comments, just write it down, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. I'm going to be producing more content, although seeing as how we're kind of getting into the fall and winter, the types of content is going to change a little bit because of the season. So just stay tuned, and I hope I can share some stuff with you that you really enjoy. And anyway, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it.